Hey everyone, CPO here. In this video, it's motor and transmission mounts going into the 2019 Golf R. This is from 034 Motorsport. These are the StreetSport Billet Motorsport lineup of motor and transmission mounts. So it's going to be a two-part video. The first video is going to be the transmission mount because I think that's the hardest, and I like starting with the hard one to get that knocked out of the way. Then we'll do the motor mount, the passenger side, and this will be the driver's side. So yeah, two different videos, same intro. So you have to look at the title, I guess, to figure out which one is which. Anyway, let's get to it. All right, so these do come as a set, and I think they're absolutely beautiful. These are the Billet Motorsport line of motor and transmission mounts for the Mark 7. This is for the Golf R. They have rubber bushings, and these rubber bushings are the difference between the StreetSport and the TrackSport. So StreetSport has a little bit softer rubber than the TrackSport, but both are massively improved over the OEM motor mounts. So yeah, I went with StreetSport because I can handle a little bit of NVH, the noise, vibration, and harshness, but I don't want it so bad that I hate driving my car. So these are a noticeable, supposedly, improvement and an increase in NVH. So we'll start there. The good news is you can always change out these bushings. So if I decide later on I want to go TrackSport, all I do is replace these rubber bushings. Same with the transmission side, replace the rubber bushings with the TrackSport durometer rubber, which is a stiffer rubber, and boom, I'm in TrackSport. So these have a lifetime guarantee and should hold up very well. 034 also sells a hardware kit for the motor mount and transmission mount, and this gives you new hardware all the way around. These are all stretch bolts. So the factory bolts, whenever you install them to a torque value, and then you stretch them by giving them another, usually it's 90 degrees of turn. And then once you take them out, you're supposed to replace them with brand new ones. So everywhere we're going to be taking out factory hardware, we're going to be replacing it with new hardware. All right, welcome to the second video in this series. The first video was the transmission side mount, and in this video we're doing the engine side. And so just like before, some of this stuff is repetitive, but I'm removing the shield from underneath, and then I'm putting a little bit of pressure on the engine with a block to distribute the weight. All right, now this little ball of radiator fluid is easily removed. There's just two little clips, and you can use a screwdriver to release those clips and then unplug the electrical connector. And then there are a couple of hoses that are attached to the side that you can pull off. You can use a little screwdriver or a pick tool or something like that to free the clip. A flathead screwdriver works fine for me on getting that clip freed up to separate from that hose. And this thing is sort of a pain in the butt, so you'll see in the video, it bounces around from place to place as I'm doing the install. Now I am removing this little bolt that holds the top half of the washer fluid reservoir on. This is specific to a 2019 Golf R, so yours may or may not have that. Do not lift this thing up. It will dump washer fluid onto the floor. Then I'll remove these various bolts, and it's pretty simple basically. This entire install is really just removing bolts, swapping the product, and then replacing bolts. So yeah, way easier than the transmission side because we're not having to work underneath the wire loom. So essentially on the engine side, there are these bolts here, which I loosen up and then remove. And then we've got these other two bolts here that are on the chassis side, and also simply remove and replace. All of these are stretch bolts, so as I mentioned in the intro, I am replacing all of that hardware as well. All right, and like I said, be careful. If you have this washer fluid reservoir, you could easily separate the two halves, and if it's full, it will leak. So yeah, that's that. So here's the old one, and of course, you know, sort of everybody has to show how stupid soft and broken in these motor mounts are. That's a lot of movement there. So definitely going to be different when we install the 034 Motorsport StreetSport edition motor mount. So there it is, set into place, and I'm simply going to replace all of the hardware. So everything goes in first and gets snugged down, and I'm not torquing anything until I get everything into place initially. What I do like about the 034 Motorsport version of this engine mount is it retains the factory hardware and has a similar layout, so that when I move later on to a catch can from APR, which is going to use those mounts, it will be handy. But more to come on that. You can see here I'm using a screwdriver to sort of wiggle and adjust the motor mount as it relates to the engine itself. That way I can get them started by hand without having to worry about stripping threads or cross-threading or anything like that. And then what I do is I just go back and forth, snugging this thing up. Now we're going to torque them. They do use factory torque specs. These are all factory style stretch bolts. So I'm tightening them down to the torque value. And then I'm going to go through and do a 90-degree additional turn. And unfortunately, the view here isn't as great as the view from my previous video, where I did this with the transmission side of these mounts. So here's a look at that video, so you can get a good look at what that 90-degree extra turn looks like. So I did the two larger ones. Now I'm moving down. These are a lighter torque spec. And same thing, torque them to the spec, and then do the 90-degree additional turn. That stretches the bolts and locks them into place. This is the mechanical version of thread locking. And then finally, this one up top gets torqued down. The torque specs get smaller and smaller as you go towards the outside of the vehicle. And then same thing here, a 90-degree turn after that. Now I can replace the bolt holding the top of the washer fluid reservoir in place. And yeah, the motor mount's installed. I can go ahead and put the radiator overflow reservoir back into place, little radiator ball. Go ahead and put your hoses back on, and it should just clip right into place. There we go, got it. Make sure the electrical connector is plugged back in, and there you go. That is the motor mount. It was super easy to install. Didn't take very long at all. Oh, I did forget. I need to go back through and mark my bolts with a paint pen, or in this case, a purple nail polish, which if you watch the first video, you'll know why I'm using that. And yeah, that's it. It was a super easy install. Now I can go back and put that shield back underneath, drop the vehicle off the jack stands, and good to go. So the next video on this topic will be about the NVH, how I feel about the noise, vibration, and harshness, and if I notice anything from a performance perspective. But that was it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great one.